What's going on? It's my life in the shot. I'm your host, Donald Washington. Detroit's West Side suspect caught in the sexual assault of an 80-year-old woman. I'm going to bring you guys that. I'm going to also bring you guys the sketch that the police put out. They offered a $2,500 reward, and the police said, hey, nobody goes home until you find that man. I'm also bringing you guys New Era Detroit. New Era Detroit hit the streets in their community, and they said, hey, they went door to door and they said, find that man. He sexually assaulted an 80-year-old woman. We here to protect our women, our children, and our elders. The community. Find that man. I'm going to also bring you guys New Era Chicago. When I first started filming, I followed New Era Chicago. They are an extension to New Era Detroit, and I followed them. Their message. They marched through the streets of Chicago. They knocked on doors. They cleaned the communities. They talked to the young brothers and sisters, the women, the children, the elders, and they were out there to protect the community. I'm going to also bring you guys out there to Detroit's West Side, to the block where this happened at, and I'm going to show you guys on what I see out there. Renee, what's going on in this case?
Yes, so on March 26th, an 80-year-old woman was approached by a man asking if she needed help with her packages. She politely declined, and later on that evening, this same man went into her house to an open back door, asked for money and food, and she told him no to leave, and he allegedly pulled her out of a house and sexually assaulted her. This person was also linked to a rape of a 64-year-old woman as well.
Wow, what type of sick individual would do something like this? So now this is the sketch that the community put out. Now the police put a $2,500 reward. This happened Sunday around 9 p.m. March 26th. This guy tried to pretend like, oh, I'm just a nice guy. Hey, ma'am, do you need help with your packages? And she probably peeped him like, hold on, you look a little sketchy. Now, one of the things that I say is people in our communities, put up cameras. It's up to us. We cannot pray our way out of this mess in our communities. We cannot vote our way out of this mess in our communities. It's going to take us to save us. And now I'm going to bring you guys New Era Detroit. New Era Detroit. This was their message. I'm going to play you guys a brief clip of New Era Detroit, what they said.
If anybody know anything about that 80-year-old woman who got sexually assaulted in her house.
In her house. I kind of bleeped it out because it was profanity, but profanity is needed in this case. Now, let me bring you guys New Era Chicago. New Era Chicago is a group. This is all my footage. This is all me filming this. This is New Era Chicago. Listen to their message.
You got to get out here and put them feet to them prayers. We got to be about this change. How many children have to die before we come out these houses and decide we're going to change this shit? And let's sign some of these people up and see and get some interest, and so more people could come out and start and get active in the community. That's what it's all about. That's why we're here today. Is 20 enough? 30? 40? 50? 100? Nah. Nobody gonna fix this problem for us but us. Nobody's gonna solve our issues but us.
Nobody's gonna solve our issues but us in the community. When are we gonna figure that out? I've been to crime scenes and people who have doorbell cameras say, oh, I'm not answering the phone for the police. I'm not going to give them, I'm not showing them nothing. I'm not saying nothing. And then it happens again. Then it happens again. Then it happens again in that community. So one thing Mayor Lori Lightfoot offered is ring doorbell cameras. She said, hey, I would reimburse you, because nobody's going to solve this but us. Outside our communities, everybody else, Renee, you got to speak.
Okay. Yeah, so also a few things I want to point out about New Era Chicago as well. They also fed the community. There also were a few times where they passed out meals, and they also went to businesses inside the community that were being disrespectful to certain people of the community as well.
Right. So So another thing about our communities is group economics. One of the things that New Era Chicago would do after we would be out there 40, 50 deep, marching the communities, knocking on doors, cleaning up the communities, we would go to a failing business in the community and we would patronize that business. We would always spend $10, $15 at that business and give the people inside that community jobs. All right. And that's what they were doing. They would knock on the doors. They would say, hey, there was a murder down the street, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's time to step outside. It's time to talk to the young people in the community. It's time to protect the people in the community. So they did a thing called Streets is Watching, where they would go out and patrol the communities themselves. And with the presence just being out there, people knew, I can't go down that block, Dr. Nfoud. Not today. Look at them down there. They watching us. You know,
yeah, it definitely shows the community that you care. And I think it's definitely something for especially young Black men to look up to want to help their community and do whatever they can to better their community.
Yes, because so much in our communities do the young men see a negative presence. People coming out saying, oh yeah, you know, go ahead carjack, go ahead sell dope, go ahead gangbang. But this was different. This was New Era Chicago saying, hey man, look, we need to go another way. We need to do something different, man. All this crime going on in our communities, let's change this. Let's all help each other. Let's all come together as one. And they did that. Shout out to New Era Detroit. Shout out to New Era Chicago. I was there. I'm filming this, what you see right here. Also, this is what I want to show you guys on that block. You know, look at Detroit.
Okay.
Look at Detroit. You know, it's abandoned house, vacant lot. You know, it's so much poverty out there. Look at vacant. It's a house, vacant lot, house.
Yeah, and one thing New Era Detroit did do, they did look at vacant lots and they did check abandoned buildings. They did do that.
So one thing I want to point out, I'm glad they got this person off the streets. They put a reward out. One thing I want to show you, shout out to the Detroit police, because the Detroit police, he said, hey, on my shift, he said, nobody goes home. Everybody works. We work around the clock. Tell your wife, call your peoples, you are not going home tonight until you find that man. Bring that man to us. Nobody goes home. Beautiful. Love that message. I wish that us and our communities would have that mentality. Whoa, a 12-year-old boy gets shot in our community. Everybody outside, don't come home until you find that man and bring him to justice. That's when the crime in our communities will stop. That's when the babies will stop dying in our communities, is when we step outside of our homes and say enough is enough.
Yeah, Detroit did a really great job of the police, New Era Detroit, the neighbors, everybody community just did a great job on this case. Good job, Detroit.
And they found that man. One thing that we can do is group economics, shop at the business inside the community, so it gives jobs to the youngsters in the community. Also, cameras. The code of silence in our community is unbelievable. Unbelievable. So many stories I did where they put pictures of that person, and everybody know who walk around in that community every day. I see people and I know the walk people in the community, and the police will say, hey, here go the suspect. They go his walk, they go what he had on, and more than likely this cat out in Detroit probably wore that every day. Probably walked the streets every day. And
I think he definitely was known in the community, and I think that's how they caught him so fast. I mean, as soon as they put out the sketch, I believe he was caught, I believe they said about less than 3 hours later he was caught. So good job for Detroit.
Right. And so there was a 64-year-old woman that was sexually assaulted. Now, see, had they caught him then. Anyway, this is a story out of Detroit's West Side. Shout out to New Era Chicago, New Era Detroit. Appreciate you, Renee, for coming on. Make sure you guys like, comment. Let me know what you think about this video. Peace.
On fire. Ooh, down to the wire. My life in the shy. Ooh, it's my life in the shy.